All right, we're streaming. It's Jay Cash, the auctioneer, and I'm here with my personal business coach, Coach Micheal Burt. They call him the super coach. Coach, thank you for giving me a few minutes of your afternoon. What's going on? I guess maybe you're in Murfreesboro today?
I am. I'm at the Greatness Factory today where we train folks, and I have an office here. So I've been doing lots of podcasts, lots of sales calls, lots of interviews, and just continuing to work the muscle, man. That's what I've been doing during this period.
All right, so this is a no holds bar interview. You've agreed to answer anything that I ask. And it's funny when I tell folks that I actually have a business coach. I was a naysayer for many years. I watched you on YouTube and different outlets, and I thought, I don't need this guy. I mean, I'm motivated. I'm driven. What can this dude? He's a former high school girls basketball coach. What could you possibly do for me? And I guess I started the program in 2017 in September after being prodded by my friend Chris Garrett. He is a very prominent realtor in Middle Tennessee. And I think the very first meeting, you taught me the legacy selling system. And I haven't looked back. I've been paying ever since. But I tell you, I get the same questions over and over again. And you've agreed to answer anything that I ask.
Yes.
My first question that I'm going to ask you, you've taught me some will, some won't, so what? I love that saying, love that motto. There's 7 million people in the world, or I don't know how, 7 million people on the country, the planet. There's some number you give me. We just need a few hundred to like me. But why do you think so many folks are afraid to commit to hiring a business coach?
Well, I think that for some reason in our society, people associate a coach with a weakness. Like so many people believe that I don't have a weakness. I don't want to be exposed. I don't want him to look at my business. What does he know about business? And so I think a lot of people look at a coach as you only go to a coach when you have a weakness. That's absolutely the wrong way to look at this. The top professionals in the world have coaches. Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson, and he had Tim Grover, who wrote the book Relentless. The top actors have coaches. The top CEOs have coaches. The top athletes have coaches. Everybody in the world who is performing at a high frequency has somebody coaching them. So I think it's a misconception of why you need a coach. You don't need a coach because you're weak. You may be weak and need a coach, but the real reason you need a coach, just like you were successful, but you wanted to play at a higher frequency. You wanted to break through your ceilings. You wanted to make more money. You wanted new tactics and strategy, and you wanted to be in a dynamic network of other like-minded people. So coaches coach people through their ceilings of complexity. And I just think so many people look at this the wrong way. They're looking at it as an expense versus an investment. If a coach helps you make $300,000 more dollars and you invest a couple thousand more dollars in it, then if I gave you $300,000, would you give me a couple thousand back? That's the way people need to be thinking about it.
I get it, Coach. That sounds great, and I agree with you. But let's face it, you are from Woodbury, Tennessee. There's a ton of people that call themselves business coaches. You get on the internet, you Google it. There's tons of guys that line up. I get asked if I've looked into other programs, and truthfully, no. You're the first person I found. I liked it. I've gelled with you ever since. But Woodbury, Tennessee is a very small town. You live outside Nashville, Tennessee, not too far from me. What makes you a business coach when your background's girls basketball? You don't know anything about plumbing or electrical work, or you don't know anything about investment. You're not an investment advisor. You're not a mortgage lender, and you're sure as heck not an auctioneer like I am. Yep. What can you teach me that I don't already know?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, as early as 18 years old, I began studying human performance, the psychology of motivation, how to activate the drive in another person, how to create structures. And I began using those structures as a high school basketball coach, the whole person theory from Dr. Stephen Covey, the 7 habits of highly effective people, the principles of good to great. From 20 to 30, I would study successful businesses. And I would bring those business principles over to my athletic coaching program, and I would teach those players these business principles. And so at 31 years old, after I built a championship program, one sign that I know what I'm doing to build take a program that had not won in 30 years, to turn into a national championship caliber program that we're going to win 7 of 9 championships. I had been studying businesses for 10 years. Then I decided to start my own business. from scratch, no lines of credit, no loans, no investors, 7,500 bucks in my bank account. I had to learn how to create an explanation of service. I had to learn how to create a selling system. I had to learn how to follow up. I had to learn how to extract referrals. I had to learn how to become a person of interest. And over the last 10 to 12 years, I built a multi-million-dollar coaching business that has real employees, not just me and another person. It has a president of the company, a sales team, marketing, workers that come show up every day. That's running an enterprise. So Jay, along the way, I've coached almost every business you can imagine. I spent 4 years in the prison system, rehabilitating offenders, maximum security prison. Very few people have been able to experience that. I've coached big home builders across the country. I've coached auctioneers, attorneys, real estate agents, mortgage originators, daycare centers, sawmill workers. I mean, at the end of the day, we all need the same principles. We need our prey drive activated. We need an explanation of value. We need a selling system to generate leads. We need a follow-up to close deals. We need an extraction of referrals, and we need a person of interest marketing strategy. These are 6 things every business on planet Earth needs. So I don't have to know the ins and outs of being an auctioneer to teach you the strategies or to help you with tactics and strategy, because what I'm really coaching on are structures of success. That's really what we're coaching people on.
Okay. I mean, that's a fair answer there. You know, you've taught me a lot of things that have helped my business. I can't lie. I mean, year after year, I have seen growth, and I cannot lie and give credit other places. Obviously, you got to have a little bit of sense, a little bit of own drive, and you got to be able to get yourself out of bed in the morning. But if a person implements some of the strategies you give them, it works. One thing you tell me often is big time people don't listen to their feelings. What does that mean?
It means that when you make a decision in your life at some point to go pro, and it was interesting, I was actually going through this exercise the other night when we introduced the Monster Health division. At certain times in my life, Jay, I made a decision to go pro, right? At 18, I made a decision to get serious about learning. At 25, I made a decision to get serious about my confidence. At 31, I made a decision to grow my financial IQ. At 41, I made a decision to go pro in my health. And so along the way, there are these moments where you say, I'm tired of being an amateur. I'm going to leave behind my amateur desires. I'm going to leave behind my feelings. When I wake up in the morning, I don't feel like prospecting. I don't feel like calling customers. I don't feel like working the system. I don't feel like going to work. Amateurs listen to their feelings. Professionals do not listen to their feelings. So I want you to think of NFL players, big time entertainers, people that have to sing, get on stage and perform every single night. You can't tell me that the NFL player feels like playing every Sunday after being beat up for 4 or 5 days. You can't tell me that the auctioneer who's done 1,000 auctions feels like it every night he steps on stage and he's got to flip the switch. You can't tell me that I feel like motivating people every day, because I don't. But that's my job. I'm a professional. And when I go to speak, and let's say there's 1,000 people there, and I don't feel it that day, or I'm not feeling motivated that day, Jay, it doesn't matter. Those 1,000 people paid the money. They came, and they deserve to get success. They deserve to get my best effort. That is what professionals do. Amateurs listen to their feelings, and they contract a lot to places of comfort.
I agree. I agree with that statement. And that I tell myself that in the morning when I get up and go to the gym, which I can't do right now. But when you get up to go work out, you know, sometimes you don't feel like it. But hey, don't listen to your feelings. You got to get up and hustle. In the auction industry, in real estate, in any industry, you're going to have criticism. And you spend an entire month talking about criticism. You've talked about how to deal with conflict. And that really helped me, because I think, like a lot of people, you don't want to have to deal with conflict in business. But guess what? It's necessary. Conflict is necessary for growth. And you were able to get me to understand that a lot of good things can come from conflict. And when you get criticized, there's usually a little bit of truth there that you need to extract, accept it, and move on. Where do you come up with these topics that you talk about each month? Because when you pick a topic, I've noticed you'll talk about it for an entire month. And by the end of that month, it's kind of ingrained in you. Where do the topics come from?
Well, the topics come a lot of times from things I need. You know, I did the course on conflict last year that was really, really popular because I was going through some major conflict. I had chosen very bad business partners. I had gotten into terrible business deals from trusting people I thought I could trust. I felt incredibly done wrong. I felt a lot of injustice. My wife felt really bad. And man, I just said, Jay, I gotta figure out how to handle conflict. Like, this is serious conflict. It's causing harm to my marriage. It's causing harm to my relationships with people. It's causing me to not want to trust anybody because I've trusted these people. And so I just said, what can I do? And I started studying conflict. I started with the Bible, and surprisingly, the Bible says very little about how to handle conflict. But I go to the Bible, and then I go to sources, and then I watch video, and then I break it down, and then I come up with a structure. And I say, okay, when Coach Burt has conflict in the future, this is how I want to handle that conflict. And I teach it. And when Jay Cash has conflict in the future, and you will, if you do anything big in the world, there will be opposition. You're not going to have any conflict when you're doing small things. You're not going to have any conflict when you don't push the needle. You're not going to have any conflict when you're not right. The reason Trump has so much conflict is because he's so outspoken in his beliefs. He has a set of beliefs. He shares those beliefs. There's opposition to those beliefs, and there's agreement with those beliefs. So when I pick courses, this month we're doing a course called Your Wealth Can't Wait. And I'm a big believer that you can't wait till tomorrow to start building your wealth. But wealth is defined in a lot of ways. There's physical wealth, there's mental wealth, there's emotional wealth, there's financial wealth, there's time wealth, there's spiritual wealth. And so what I do, Jay, is I step back and I say, as a business owner, as a small business owner, what do I need? Who do I need to hear from? What decisions do I need to make? What am I struggling with? And I suspect many things I struggle with, you struggle with, other people struggle with. So that's how I choose the courses that I teach every month.
Fair enough. I'm getting a couple texts here on my phone from some buddies that say I'm going too easy on you. So I'm going to get there. I'm getting there. We're not going to let them off the hook yet, because but I want to talk about some other things that I get that I've learned from you that you claim. Here's some claims that you make: that you can generate more business. You can get 5-point-something referrals out of each transaction. You claim that you can help anyone go from chasing business to where the leads come to you. And I will say that sounds like a lot of BS, but at the end of the day, there are some structures you can implement where you're not out having to chase leads all the time. And it is so much nicer now that I've adapted some of your principles to where the phone rings, I answer. I'm not out having to constantly beat down the doors to get in front of people. They come to me. Where do you come up with that structure from?
I was sitting in a Cracker Barrel on a Saturday morning with one of my good friends. And this was early in my business, probably 3 years into my business. And I said, man, chasing anything sucks. Trying to convince people, manipulate people, convince them they need a coach in their life. Like, this is for the birds, man. I'm only looking for people who are looking for me. And I wrote down on a napkin 3 words: person of interest. I want to become a person of interest. Now, that would become a book that I would go on to write called Person of Interest, POI. How do you become a person of interest? And here's the person of interest in a nutshell. When you go to work on you and you build a very strong skill that solves problems for other people, you will build demand for that skill, but you got to market that skill. You got to distribute that skill. You got to push that skill out to the market. So I made a decision. I wanted to be a person of interest, and I wanted to have my own books, have my own shows, did a reality show. I've been on other people's shows. Like, I move about the planet to try to drive up my person of interest score. And anybody can do this. An auctioneer can do this. An auctioneer can write his own books. He can do his own speaking engagements. He can do his own shows like you're doing right here. Like, any person in the world who does anything can adopt these philosophies. Do you want to be in demand? And the way you build demand is you circulate with purpose. You become a perceived person of advancement, a person of increase, right? Like, you are increasing other people's lives when they're with you. So we generate about 1,000 leads a month. And I'm generating those leads right now through webinars, podcasts, interviews, virtual summits. Typically, I do that through speaking engagements, but I've had shows on Fox affiliate shows. Like I said, I did a reality TV show. That was one of the coolest things that I ever did. I mean, there's all kinds of things I've done to try to raise my status in the market. And every person I coach, I tell them to do this. Write your own books, have your own shows, do your own speaking engagements, build your own company, like, become this person of advancement in the world. And people will want to be part of what you're doing.
Another thing you claim, and it's not a claim, it's real. You talk about sometimes you're in a vehicle that can only get you so far. You can't make $1 million doing this, or you can't drive your car to Hawaii. It's not going to happen. And you talk about having multiple streams of income. I know I've got a lot of auctioneer friends that are watching, and that's something in the benefit and fundraising world where I set a fee, I show up, and that's it. And in auctions, how we operate and charge normally on a commission basis, but you have been able to generate ideas and just the think process to get multiple streams of income that all feed the main thing. Mm-hmm. And that is something that has been remarkable. One thing that you talked about was writing books, and all those books behind you, you got them there on your shelf. Mm-hmm. Did you really write those books? And why do you write so many books?
I started writing books at 25 years old because I'd had a little bit of success and there was no manual. I was a young basketball coach and I would make these mistakes and I would say to myself, surely to goodness, somebody has written a book on how to do this, like how to build a program, and nobody had, right? And so at 25 years old, I didn't know a lot, but I said, I want to help young coaches. And so I wrote a little book called Changing Lives Through Coaching. I had no idea what I was doing. Literally, my aunt that worked at Middle Tennessee State University helped me package it up, get it printed. We printed it on demand through Instant Publisher. And I tried to sell those books, Jay, to other coaches with no luck, no success whatsoever. I couldn't sell one book. And I had this idea that if I had a book, I would like to go to junior pro organizations like the city leagues and these, and I'd like to do a workshop where each coach paid $25 to come to the workshop. And I finally convinced 2 organizations to do that. And I made a total of $460. And I got in front of those coaches and I shared my heart. I shared my story. I shared the structure I was used to being a coach. And guess what? Business people were in the audience. Business dads that ran businesses, that coached their kids were in there. And one of them came to me and said, how much would it cost for you to come over and speak to my team? I got a team of 4 or 5 people at this manufacturing area. We manufacture boats. And would you come speak to our people? And I said, man, I don't know. I don't even know what to charge. And I said, what if we did for $350? And he said, 3 hours, $350. I'm in. And that was really my first sale. And so what I didn't know when I wrote the book was that people I wrote it for wouldn't buy it. Business people began to buy it. And what was so cool about that is that got me in doors like Dell Computers, State Farm Insurance. And I began to speak. I bet I spoke 200 times for free, Jay, on my first couple of books with no money, no expectation of money, didn't even know how to charge. And then finally people began to ask me, how much would you charge to do this for my team? And that's really what kickstarted my speaking business.
It was probably a couple years ago, 2017. That's when I started Monster Producer, and you pushed a lot of things that I was a little bit resistant to. I don't want to. Who am I to go on Facebook or put out promotion, or who am I to write a book? But truly, when you get in the flow of business, doing the same thing over and over again, you can help so many people by just giving them the information and putting them out there. And
well, can I say something to that just real quick?
Absolutely.
Who are you not to do it? Here's the point. Here's the part that really bothers me. Just because you live in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, or I grew up in Woodbury, Tennessee, doesn't mean you can't be the #1 guy in the world. Like, this is a myth that I want to bust for everybody out there. The #1 guy in the world doesn't have to live in New York City. He doesn't have to live in Chicago. He doesn't have to live in Miami. He doesn't have to live in LA. The truth of the matter is you may be the #1 guy in the world, and you may live in some obscure city in the world, and that's okay. And I think this is a problem we face. It's like, well, if you live in the same city as me, you can't be an expert. Like the people ask me all the time where I get treated well and where I get treated bad. I get treated the worst in my hometown, and I get that. I mean, because there's judgment, and maybe they knew me from when I was 20 or 25 and made stupid decisions, and they've made up their mind that I couldn't help them because I was a former basketball coach. When I leave my home city, it is totally different. I get to sign books for hours. I get to see people who compensate me well. I get to do what I love doing. It's just something about, Jesus in his own city. Think about how Jesus got treated in his own city. I mean, who was it in the Bible that said, can anything good come out of that place? Can anything good come out of that place, right? And they were talking about Jesus in his hometown. In your hometown is when people don't see you as an expert. And I want to kind of break that myth. You may be the #1 auctioneer guy in the world. And yes, you could live right beside me and be the #1 guy in the world. I don't have to go to Chicago to get the #1 guy or LA to get the #1 guy. And that does bother me because too many people doesn't give a person a chance because they're local people.
You know, I get told like here locally is, oh, well, I was working out one time and coach didn't talk to me in the gym. Or I don't like the fact, here we go. I don't like the fact that you have a Mercedes Sprinter that you drive around. I don't like the fact that you got a private jet. Why do you need that? And man, you're making too much money if you can have a private jet. I will preface this. I didn't really know why it was necessary either until you invited me on the private jet. And I saw how quickly and efficiently I could get to Atlanta and back. And it opened up ideas in my mind of, wow, this would be a really nice asset to have that could make me more money. I could get to where I need to go and get back quicker to be back with my family when you're going to Atlanta, Indianapolis, Chicago multiple times in a week, which is what we got up to with our fundraising business. Same thing goes with the Mercedes Sprinter. That thing is amazing, but how efficient it is. But I find a lot of people get turned off because you have a Mercedes Sprinter and you have access to a private jet.
Yeah, and I understand that. Maybe they don't understand the usage of that. As you said, the reason I had the Sprinters many years ago, I was traveling consistently to Memphis and to Knoxville, and I was spending hours and hours in the car, and I couldn't work. Like it was literally wasted time because you can't drive and work at the same time. So I really saw it as losing hundreds of thousands of potential dollars. And so a few years ago, I don't know when it was, 5 or 6 years ago, I bought this Mercedes Sprinter and we use that thing. I take my whole team to and from events. I make sales calls. I'm able to create presentations. Sometimes I'm able to rest and just get my mind where it needs to be. So I began doing that years ago, which was unheard of in our city. Like who has a bus and who has a driver and who does this? And listen, I saw it as employing a person. We had a former UPS driver that was looking for work who drove. We gave him a job driving. I got to take my team with me. I was going to Knoxville and Chattanooga and Memphis and Kentucky, and it was 3 and 4 hours on the road. And so then as we begin to progress our business, a few years ago, I decided to go in with one other person and buy a jet, a Hawker XP. At that time, I bought a beach jet. And so it's me and one other person that own this jet. We rent the jet out when we're not using it, just no different than a house that you have that you rent. And it allowed me to go places and come back home. But people ask me the real reason that I got that jet is that year in December, I was working on a deal to do 35 cities for RE/MAX. I had signed a 35 city deal with RE/MAX to do 35 major events around the country at all their regional sales rallies. And I was already booked. I already had clients in Houston. I already had clients all these places. And I told my wife, I'm not going to do this deal unless I can go and come home to see our daughter. I'm tired of being away from my family. This is part of my work. And so we got the jet. It was been one of the best things we've ever done. And let me tell you, the unintended positive consequence, Jay, is it allows me to take some of my best clients like you with me. It allows me to take people with me. It allows me to take my whole team with me. It allows me to go somewhere in a day and come home. Is it expensive? Of course it's expensive. It's about $2,200 an hour for me to fly on that jet. But for me to go from here to Memphis in 27 minutes, speak a whole day, speak at 4 different events, come home. Because in the old days, somebody would want to book me to speak in Missouri and Miami on the same day, and I would have to choose. I couldn't do both. In today's world, I can literally say, if we can work the times out, I can fly to Miami and turn around and come to Mississippi that night or Missouri, and we can do 2 things. It's just amazing what kind of options that gives you when you have that thing. It is expensive to own. It is expensive to use, but we do rent it out when I'm not using it to try to turn it into an asset. The rent pays the insurance, the hangar fees, and then basically what I'm paying for is the usage of it when I use it for the pilots and the fuel.
So it kind of comes back to the multiple outlets that generate you money, that you're using that in your business, just like I've been able to, a program called Share the Upside, which is a program where we provide nonprofits amazing opportunities to have access to experiences and products that they can sell at their charities, and other outlets, other things that we've come up in our wheel. One thing that I've noticed that I've not gotten the chance to experience yet, maybe we will, but You've got, it looks like one of the most badass looking properties in Florida. You've got a Tennessee lodge that is to die for. And you got your own personal house. You got 3 houses here. That seems to be a bit much, a little showy, Coach. Why we got to have 3 houses that are that are to die for?
Well, when you think about this, I want you to think of this philosophy. How do you take a liability, what's considered a liability, like a house, and turn it into an asset? I don't purchase anything unless I think I can use it to generate more income. So when we purchased our house in Murfreesboro, I told my wife, we're not going to buy this house unless we use this house to entertain clients, to have parties, to do social events, to raise money for charities. We're going to use this house to generate money. Now, as our coaching business began to pick up, I have an affinity for real estate. I love real estate. I love being in creative places. So we went down to Florida and purchased a 9-bedroom house that we rent. And if in normal times, that house is producing revenue every month. We rent that house for between 10 and 14,000. It's 9 bedrooms, so a lot of families, reunions use it, and it's a cash flowing property, so it's an asset. But we also use it to do retreats. I'm about to release a retreat I'm doing for people that want to write a book. We're going to take 5 people down there. We're going to spend 3 days with them. Me and one of the people that helps me with books, our publishing division. We're going to spend 3 days down there at a retreat. Now, let's say we take 5 people down there, Jay, and we charge $6,500 per person. And we make whatever that is, right? $35,000 for 3 or 4 days. We're using the property. I pay the house back, the rent. So we pay the house first. Then we get paid for the coaching. People get to go down there and they get value. They walk out of there with a strategy to write their book, a marketing plan, the chapters, and they've spent 3 days with me. So that's one asset. The lodge is something I've always loved. When I saw it the very first time I saw it out in Christiana, Tennessee, I knew the second I walked in there, Jay, we can use this to generate money. So many people looked at that as a personal residence. I didn't look at it that way. I looked at it as we can take this and turn it into a major asset. So we rent it for weddings. We rent it for company parties. We built out a training facility. We rent it on VRBO. And when that lodge is up and running like it's capable of, that thing could produce 150 to 250,000 of revenue every year for us. And hopefully, 50 to 100,000 of pure profit for us. So I look at it as I have a personal house, and then I have these properties that we use. Notice that word use. We use the jet. We use the bus. We use the properties. And our goal is to only buy asset-based producing assets, not buy liabilities that cost us money, but buy assets that make us money.
I started the interview here. We're going on 30 minutes. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but a lot of times people have an excuse. They got to think about it. They don't, need to do more research. It's not the right time. I've had a friend that was in it, and he said you weren't any good. And I've heard lots of excuses too. All I can say is it works for me. And I look at you as one of the best investments that I make every month. But with that, how much does it cost? You get on your website. I see that you say that there's some people paying $25,000 to be in your coaching program. I'm not paying quite that much. I'm paying a few $1,000s, but the entry to getting coaching it's hard to beat. I don't even know really what it is because I don't even consider it an expense. I look at it as an investment, and each month I know I'm going to get so much out of it that I'm just happy to pay it. What's the price point to get in a coaching program?
Well, right now the price point to be in Monster Producer, a program that like you're in, is $1997 for a full year. That's $1,997. It includes a 2-day boot camp, includes a year's worth of coaching. You get a Monday accountability session every Monday. You get access to live sessions throughout the month. You get a little coaching session in the private Facebook group every Tuesday, Thursday. There's about 400 people in that program right now. So for less than $2,000, you can get a year's worth of coaching in a group setting. And every month I cover one topic. Now, if you bump up and you say, I like one-to-one coaching, we then go up to a $10,000 program, $10,000 per year, which is $833 per month. And you get an executive coach coaching you. You get some strategy time with me. And some people that say, I want individual coaching, I need an executive coach holding me accountable, they go to the 10,000 level. Now, when you get up to the $25,000 level, you get strategy sessions with me. You get access to certain events. So as they're posting right there, $666 a month, $1997 a year for a whole year of coaching. If you want to come to events like the retreats I've been talking about, the coaching summits, the boot camps at the lodge, the year's worth of coaching, the executive coach, time with me on strategy, then you move to a $2,083 a month. And we have about 30 to 40 people in that level. They get private access, they get special events, they get a lot of perks when they get to that level. We even have people at the 40,000 level, the 60,000 level, and even the $100,000 level. So it really depends on which level you want that fits your budget. We've got $99 a month in our online academy. We've got books that are $15. We got courses that are $37. So we just try to work with you in your budget and say, this is the right thing for you. We got coaching summits if you want to speak or coach or train. We got publishing summits if you want to write books. I mean, we try to create enough diversity in our product line that you can find something that'll work for you.
Just one or two more questions. When someone signs up, how soon do you see progress in them? And what happens if the program isn't working for me? I want out. I'm not happy in the program anymore. But really, how soon do I see results? And I like it's kind of a joke you said one time. If you can't get value out of the $166 a month, you either are really bad at what you do, or Coach Burt needs to find a new job. But how soon do you see results?
Yeah, I think it determines on the learner. I mean, I'm a person that devours content. Okay, I can watch one webinar or have one coaching session and get something that can turn into a couple $100,000. Some people, it takes them 30 days. Some people don't get serious about it till the 6-month mark. Some people don't get serious about it till the 3rd year mark. So here's what I would tell you. The people that are earning the most income with me, that I have been their coach, that are earning over $500,000 a year, I have been their coach for 5+ years. They didn't start and quit and start and quit and start and didn't like it. To me, you've got to make up your mind when you spend or invest money in something to get that return. So I always joke and tell the real estate agents that I coach, if you don't get 5 more deals as a result of me coaching you for a year, you need to quit being a real estate agent, and I need to quit being a coach. Like you should easily pick up 5 more deals. We'll do the commission on 5 deals. And let's just say you earned $3,000 commission. That's 50. You made $15,000. You invested less than $2,000. So I always say, if I gave you $15,000, would you give me $2,000 back? And they go, well, sure. I'm like, well, what do we have to talk about? Like, this is crazy. Like, take action. The world rewards action. It doesn't reward excuses. It doesn't reward people sitting on the fence. If you want to perform at a higher level, go find somebody who can help you earn more income, come up with more strategies, just like you've done. You've been able to produce hundreds of thousands of more dollars because of your investment. But you come to class, you pay attention, you ruminate on the material, and you go do it. You go try it. If you come and you learn and you don't go do it, it's not going to work, man. It's never going to work.
I agree. Hey, I'm going to not take too much more of your time up. I have been a Monster Producer since 2017. Your content is easy to understand. You are accessible. I can catch you at Monday at 4:30, like you're there every week. On Tuesday and Thursday mornings, you're live on Facebook streaming, hitting us with the same content. If we have a hard question or something that we're pondering, you're accessible. Your email's out there. We can email you. I don't have it on me, but I know we can get it. And I jokingly say it's like I don't read a lot of books. I probably should read a lot of books. Going to you've read all the books. You tell me exactly what they say and how to implement them. It couldn't be any easier. This is definitely a program that I endorse. I appreciate you and your time, and I appreciate the energy you pour into me and all the other Monster Producers, because you're passionate about it. You're not part-time. This is your full-time gig, and I don't think there's anybody that rivals you at all. You've been on some of the biggest stages in the world, and you deserve all the good things that come your way because you're out hustling harder than anyone. So thank you for joining, Coach. I appreciate you, and I'll send them your way. A Monster Producer. Our website's CoachMichealBurt.com. Where do we go to for the
go to CoachBurt.com. Here's what I tell you. Anybody listening that wants to do a strategy session with me, we'll just sit there and talk about your life. We'll talk about your business. We'll talk about your goals. Then I'll make a recommendation on what I think you may need. You may be a good fit. You may not be a good fit. That's why I do the strategy sessions. So info@CoachBurt.com. Say, I'd like to do a strategy session with you. You know, like I said, there may be something we find out in there that said, hey, you need this product. You need this. You need to come to this. It'll be up to you if you come. But I'm telling you, those that have a coach earn 3 and 4 times the amount of money than those that don't. I believe it 100% of my heart. And every day I'm pouring into 400 to 1,000 people in our coaching programs. We're feeding them on Mondays when I do the calls. There's 872 people registered for those calls every Monday. And they're literally all over the world. They're in London. They're in Mexico. They're in California. They're all over the place. So I'm fortunate to be able to travel the world. But I love coming home to Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It's where I raise my family. It's where my kid goes to school, and because it's a great, safe place to live. So, Jay, thank you, man, for asking me the tough questions, and thank you for having me on the show. And guys, if you're out there, you're looking for a coach, I'd love to be your guy. I think I can help you. I promise you. I've spent my whole life since I was 15 years old helping people get to a higher level, and I'd be honored to be your coach.
Hey, I believe everybody needs a good coach, because left to your own devices, you'll retract and you'll retreat. And super coach, he ain't going to let you do that. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys.